John O'Leary, and I've been a computer security practitioner for almost as long as there's been computer security, for years and years. And one of the things I started to do was study things that led to this. And that's how I got interested in Poe.
So your session this morning was about how Edgar Allan Poe relates to info security. Can you give me a little bit about his background?
Yeah, he doesn't sound like an information security guy, but when you dig into the things that he did and the way that he did them, it sounds a whole lot like some of the things that we do. Poe did a lot of things that people are only now starting to give him credit for. He invented the detective story. He brought cryptography and cryptology into public notice with one of his stories, specifically called The Gold Bug. That was a story about how people were looking for and trying to find the treasure that Captain Kidd, the pirate, had hidden. And the whole story revolved around solving a cipher, a polyalphabetic cipher, which we security people know, a polyalphabetic cipher on a map which said where this thing was. So that led to other things, and crypto became an element that people used in their stories from that. He also talked about steganography and other things like that, the hiding of messages, etc. So he brought some of our stuff into the forefront, and this was in the 1830s and 1840s. This wasn't right now. So consequently, there was interest in some of the things that we're doing now, a century and a half before we actually started doing it. Poe had a lot of characteristics which were similar to ours too. He had to get the job done. One of several of his jobs had to do with editing magazines. And when you edit magazines, you solicit people to write for them, and you deal with the printers, and you get ink, and you get all the things that have to be done with advertising for magazines. However, sometimes those people who promise you an article on April 7th don't deliver the article by April 7th. And if it's a magazine, it's got to get published by then. And just as we know, we have to do what we have to do. We have to upgrade things. We've got to put our patches in place, etc. He knew what to do to get the magazines published. Sometimes it was pushing people. Sometimes it was writing some things himself. He wasn't really appreciated in his own land. America didn't start to like Poe until after the French did, and the English finally said, yeah, this guy is really good. He's a heck of a poet. He's a really good critic. He's a wonderful short story writer. We really like what he's done. He influenced French literature perhaps more than he influenced American literature. And Poe was one of the first ever Southern writers. Now, we had our writers in New England at that time in the 1820s, 30s, and 40s. But the whole concept of a Southern writer was something that was new to them. New England was everything that was written, and it was very much the European style of writing. He turned it into an American style. Now, we security people, we're not